Hi there, my name is Vera Innerlight. My creator have been creating Kigurumi masks for more than 16 years already, and today we shall share with you our knowledge about how to make different eyes for Kigurumi masks. And let's get started. So as you can see, we have quite a few stories to tell. So, and this lecture will be actually split in two halves. The first is about eye geometry, and the second is about how to actually implement that geometry in material for, well, different ways how to do this. And you can see all that stuff. Well, it's a lot. And first of all, speaking about eyes, I learned it a long time ago when I was trying to become an animator and to draw cartoons and anime, but well, as you can see, I don't do this. But at the time, I learned that the eyes in particular, is a very important part of the character image and character design. Because we as a species and you as a species are usually, first of all, you consume a lot of information through the eyes, and of course this lecture is no exception. And also we tend to look at person's eyes to learn to try to predict what they're thinking, how they will act, how they will interact with us. So it's a very big, very serious deal, and we as an artist, as a mask makers, have to actually do a lot of this. And doing a lot of this, first thing to consider is the eye geometry. Actually, eye geometry is there's two branches of eye geometry. One is about the relative placement of iris, sclera, pupil, all that stuff, and the shape of the eye cutout in the face. So all that stuff is important, but I will not talk about this because, well, if you are trying to learn about eyes, about how to represent eyes, it's a pretty well-known and well documented stuff in artists' circles. So there are a lot of tutorials about eyes for sculptures, eyes for artists, eyes for digital artists, how to draw, all that stuff. And this is basically that part of the story, and I will not concentrate our attention on this. But there is another part of the story, and it is about how to implement that in real life, in real mask, how to place all that elements in 3 dimensions, and not just 2 dimensions, but 3 dimensions. It's very important because in this case we'll get some interesting special effects that are not obvious from just learning how to draw eyes on a picture, on a plane, or even how to sculpt eyes on a sculpture. So relative position is how to get different effects follow such, and this is about not just eye expression and artistic style, but again dynamic shadows, special effects, following eyes, and something like that. So this is what we shall concentrate our attention in this lecture. And we have 3 basic geometries that we can implement. The first geometry is flat eyes, and well, I have okay, let's see if this will be seen enough to you. So well, camera focus. So you can see this is how it may look. Sorry for the black material, and you see that it's basically a flat, or more precise, it's a cylindrical shape. And you also see that I had to paint the eye shape and put that in this 3D model so it would be actually it is actually understandable where the iris and all the elements are. This geometry is basically the simplest. It's usually lights that made of just a sheet of material, again usually slightly curved, so it is curved this way. It's like that, but the axis is vertical. And these eyes are good for cartoony characters, for anime characters, and the most complexity of the eye design here in this case arises from the image you put on that flat surface. Well, and sometimes it's actually not a cylindrical but a very flat surface, and it's usually in case of eyes made of screens. The next geometry is a spherical geometry, and here I have another 3D model. Well, this time we're lucky it was made of white plastic, so you can see that. And in this case we try to imitate real-life eyes, because real-life eyes are usually kind of sphere with some extra around the iris, and in this case we gain the ability to get the real shadows and real highlights, and you can see my eyes are actually spherical, so all that highlights, all that shadows from all around presented can be seen in my eyes. So these kind of eyes are usually used for ball giant doll style masks, for realistic looking masks. The realistic furry fursuits usually implement this for their heads, and also sometimes it's anime girl mask, but it's not usual. So basically the imitation of doll, or again of the ball giant doll, just in anime style. So that's the stuff. And again, I had to mention that sometimes there is some mix between flat eyes and spherical eyes. Is basically the flat back sclera made of sheet of plastic or something like that, and the spherical part is just an iris lens, an acrylic lens, and the iris image at the back of that eye. And the third is the different geometry, and this geometry is actually counterintuitive. Well, I learned that it is counterintuitive when I first implemented it while back there, and people will just wow, how did you do this? But actually fursuiters used this geometry even before me. So what it is? This geometry utilized the concave shape, so the irises and the eye image. Well, let's see if you will see here. So irises are actually offset back, to a certain amount of certainly offset to the back of the mask, and the interaction between the cutout of the eye shape and the position of the iris and the parallax of that stuff makes it look like the eyes are following camera, that look like the eyes move. And you also can see this effect in my video about eye fixtures, how to place eyes in the mask. This is a huge video about that stuff as well. And because this geometry requires requires irises to be back then into the mask, this usually requires some structures inside the mask, and it usually takes its place. So the spherical eyes or the flat eyes, you can always cut out a lot of stuff that is invisible, and it's not much. But in this case, there is some stuff that actually has to go inside the mask, and it can take about 2 centimeters, maybe 3 centimeters, but well, 3 centimeters is the maximum of you usually can have in your mask in this regard. And another thing of this geometry is that is pretty sensitive to misalignments. The flat eyes can be misaligned for about 5 millimeters in either way, and this won't be very noticeable, and this won't be much disturbing. But if this geometry, the iris would be misaligned to about 1 millimeter, it would be noticeable pretty fast. It would be just an eye constantly looks somewhere it shouldn't. Because again, I remind you that eyes are very important to us to understand what a person is thinking, and having the eye that just looks somewhere else constantly makes us a bit uncomfortable, and we shall notice. So that's why when I first implemented that geometry and people asked me about whether they can have this kind of eyes for their mask that was already made and shipped, I refused it because, well, I invented the magnetic method of placing eyes inside the mask. So I will be sure as a maker that the eyes will get placed in the space they are should be placed, and they won't get misaligned. So this is a pretty serious stuff. And there is, well, I a bit misguided you. There is a fourth geometry, but that's not the basic geometry. It's like some extra that you add on top of one of 3 basic geometries. It's the sculpted, the relief. So it can be again implemented to any geometry, so again, eye can be sculpted, iris can be sculpted, and sometimes it can be even 3D printed, and this is usually handy in either in cases when you have some not conventional eyes, like for example beast eyes or transformers eyes or something like that, or you want to have an extra relief, an extra layer of complexity, of highlight play, of shadow play between different elements. And also it can be useful if you make a monochrome character and you need to actually indicate that eyes are in certain positions. For example, again, like in this model, I deliberately made the irises, I deliberately sculpted irises so I could actually see where they would be in the final 3D model, in the final print and in the final mask as a result. So this is that stuff. And now a quick comparison between different geometries. So again, about the making, flat eyes are usually easier to make. And again, the tolerance of placement. Again, how much space is required inside the mask from the top surface back to the inside of the mask. And the look, cartoony or anime, realistic and some elaborate stuff. And of course, sculpted eyes require, it's pretty tiresome to make, tiresome to implement. And you probably won't want to do this unless you have a special artistic idea about this stuff. But if you have a special artistic idea, then you probably go for it. So artists are crazy people. They usually don't think about efficiency. If they don't think, they instead usually think about the beauty and the elaborate of their work and all the stuff. And again, if you have these different geometries, as you will see later in the second part of this lecture, that flat eyes allows us a lot of active and some passive special effects. Spherical eyes are more restrictive in special effects domain. Follow me eyes usually can utilize electronic special effects, and they have their special effect that makes them actually why you would use that geometry, the following special effect. And sculpted eyes also can restrict you in the special effect domain, but still allow you to do some active and passive special effects, like you can put a sculpted iris in a follow me eye, something like that, or add some electronics in these eyes. So we will see that in the next part. So a quick preview to the next lecture. Thank you for being with me for this first part of this lecture, and there will be a link down below to the second part of the lecture, and it will be much longer than these 18.5 minutes we've been together this time, so be prepared. See you at the second part. See you.